Hey, this is Ryan.
And this is Steve, and you're listening to 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
Have you been practicing, Steve?
No, I'm just drinking this sweet Trappist Roquefort.
This stuff is good.
From Grant from Big Ear Pedals.
Oh, man, he sent us a bunch of beers.
Yeah, we didn't hit this one. I think I'm going to crack another, actually get up and crack another one in a couple minutes.
This is so smooth, and it's got that kind of musty, smoky German thing going on.
I'm trying to figure out if I want to stick with the Belgians or if I want to get weird, because there's a bunch of lambics and gozas in there.
I say we stick with the Belgians and we work our way through styles instead of jumping through styles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe just because I'm enjoying this one so much.
I mean, technically gozas are still Belgian per se. They're just not.
You know what I mean?
There's just a lot of. So anyway.
Thank you, Grant.
Yes.
He sent me that box of pickups. He sent us a box of these beers.
It is October. Should we be saying Prost?
Prost.
There we go.
I didn't make it out to Oktoberfest this year.
It hasn't happened yet.
The one that we go to usually, it has already happened.
It's happening again this weekend.
No, it was the weekend before and this past weekend. You missed it.
I was told it was last weekend and then this weekend.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Are you going to go?
No.
Yeah. Well, then you're going to miss it anyways.
Yeah.
I would have gone, but we had too much going on.
Yeah. Well, if I'm going to go, I have to find babysitting. And that's a whole different nightmare.
Oh, we were going to go with our mutual friends, and then they bailed because their whole family was sick.
Yeah, it got rescheduled to this weekend.
Is that what's going on?
Well, I say this weekend, this weekend coming, which is actually before or.
Well, don't get confused in the timeline. No one's going to schedule their Oktoberfest plans off this show, Steve. So you don't need to get into specifics.
So what's new, Ryan?
So much is new. What should I say for next week?
Do you want to save anything for next week?
Probably not. I got that True Spring in, which was a fun surprise. I did it's a Source Audio took their outboard reverb and their long spring and short spring settings from the Ventress and stuck it in its own box. And they threw a tremolo in there with a bunch of different settings. So they sent me one because they really like my coverage of the outboard setting on the Ventress. I got to do a video. I'm going to do more videos with it. I'm really impressed with it. I'm going to do a shootout. I got to use it live.
Yeah.
My band finally had a show. It's been a year, which always makes me feel bad when I say I'm in a band when we haven't played in a year.
Yeah.
So we played the show that was in a business adjacent to a street fair.
I thought you were playing the street fair.
No, it's adjacent to it, but you can see the street fair out the.
Oh, so it's kind of
like the windows.
It's like when we played Bonita Fest at the church that was adjacent to Bonita Fest.
It was way cooler than that, and you could act people walking through the street fair were actually coming in the door and watching us, rather than us being in the back end of a church parking lot on the same street, but like an eighth of a mile away from a street fair.
Right.
We were actually facing out to the street fair, and people were walking up to the window, and we were like putting our faces against the window and teasing them and stuff.
Nice.
But it was a lot of fun. We jumped right back into being a band. Our music sounded great. We felt great.
Cool.
Had a good time. I felt bad because bleeding into another what's new. That day was crazy. It was Saturday. We went and met up at Coach Schneider's house from
Flippin' Flippers podcast.
And Flippin' Flippers podcast. And he had a bunch of other guitar podcasters over, ourselves included, obviously.
Yeah.
And we made a great big day of just recording stuff. And then I left directly from there to go play the show.
Yeah, I'm surprised you were not murdered in your sleep that night.
It was pretty close. I abandoned my very pregnant wife with my 4-year-old from 11:30 in the morning to 11 at night, 12 hours.
Whoops.
She was texting me the whole time you can't be gone this long again when I'm pregnant. This is pretty rough. In the middle of our kitchen still being remodeled.
Yeah. Also not just pregnant, but at the very end.
Pregnant. I honestly would have bet money that day wasn't even going to happen, that I would have been in the hospital.
Right.
Which is why I overbooked myself, I think. I was like, yeah, sure. I probably won't be able to do it anyways because I'm going to have a baby. But both things were great. I'm glad we did them both.
Yeah, so it was our show, from the Flippin' Flippers, both of the Tone Jerks. Sean Pierce Johnson from the YouTube channel,
SPJ.
Sean Pierce Johnson, and RJ from Teletalks, who I guess if everything stays scheduled, tomorrow we'll be dropping my Teletalk stuff. Which is either the Keep It Simple Stupid or the Talkin' Tellies segment. I'm not sure which, or both maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
So there will be links to both his Instagram and his YouTube. I'm not sure which one he's dropping it on because I know he's doing a lot of shorter format stuff.
Yeah.
For Instagram, but I think this might go a little longer. So I think this might be on YouTube, but I'll post links to both. It's a good follow. It's a lot of Telecaster stuff. I had my red Telecaster there, kind of talked through it a little. And I put together a short board for it, like a 4-pedal board. But we'll actually talk about that later as part of one of our topics. My other what's new is I sold my DD3.
Congratulations.
Put that sucker up on reverb. That one actually was the first of the reverb pedals I sold. I've got a bunch of other stuff on reverb right now.
Oh, I was like, that's a delay, Steve, not a reverb.
No,
and then
reverb.
I caught up.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Also, my 5050's up on reverb again. I dropped the price.
Is it under $400 this time?
It's exactly $400.
Oh my gosh, come on.
I should drop it under $400. It should be $399.
I wonder if the original will go up in value when the new version drops. The new version just having new art, by the way.
Right. I don't know. I don't know that it will.
Maybe it'll go down in value.
Do you think the market will flood with orange 5050s? People who want to buy the new one, and then they'll sell theirs.
I don't think we're making enough to flood the market, and the Inner Circle is going to have first pick of the new run. So
I don't think there's enough. I mean, how many are going to be in the new run? Do you know? Is it going to be like a run of 30?
Somewhere around 30.
Okay,
I think
so. There will definitely be more than enough left over because we haven't added 30 new Inner Circle people since the last run.
But some people might buy them just,
That's true.
Speculatively as to invest in the market.
Yeah.
Which is so stupid.
Yeah, I think the 5050 is Pelican Noiseworks'
Yeah.
second highest selling pedal on Reverb.
Leon posted that
which
stat
is
the other
super
day.
weird.
Yeah.
Because that's all used market sales. And I think it's his highest value selling pedal.
Well, that's just because one person bought one for $300.
Oops. Actually, there are a few that sold like way above new price. Yeah.
Some other demo guy, I forget who, was it? I think Bruce Ryan, is that his name? You don't know. But Ryan Bruce.
Ryan Bruce.
I feel bad that I'm messing up his name. He does a thing where he like critiques people's boards that he sends pictures in.
Oh yeah.
And someone sent him a board that had a 50-50 on it, and he looked at it and he's like, "It says 50-50 on it. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's good or what it is."
That's fluff, right?
Yeah. The guy who does a little cartoon illustration of himself.
Yeah. So if you guys want an orange one, it's on there. Just saying. Or you can wait until the next run comes out and test your luck.
Yeah, or you could join the Inner Circle.
Yeah, and get one for a 112.
Almost certainly for sure. If you join the Inner Circle, you will almost certainly get one for sure in the near future.
I can't imagine that there will we're gonna sell out this run in the Inner Circle. I would find that very strange.
There's usually like 10 or 15 left over after the Inner Circle gets their pick.
I think this next run we will sell less than half of this next run in the Inner Circle.
Okay. I'm not going to take bets. I'm not going to take bets with you, but it doesn't sound unreasonable.
I guess I should say I definitely think we will sell less than half at the Inner Circle price.
Okay.
And then so if
we do make more money if the Inner Circle people don't buy them.
If a bunch of people in the Inner Circle want to buy them at like their full price because they're buying their second one, that's up to them. But
yeah, always flip it on.
I don't know.
Reverb,
I think that covers all the new, unless you got more new.
I got the SL fixed up by our friend Sean Hutchinson. I talked to our friend Cassidy about fixing it up to drop pickup trays into it, like making modifications to it. And he was like, yeah, this is a great idea. I sent him like specs and everything, but then I haven't heard from him since. And I'm about to have a baby, so I don't know when this is actually going to happen, but I'm really excited to get the SL running as a pickup tester, and it plays decent now. It plays better than it ever has, honestly, now that Sean set it up with that new nut, with the new neck on there. The fretboard radius doesn't match the bridge perfectly, but it's even with that quirkiness to it, it still plays way better than it did before. So yeah, I'm excited to get it up and running for sure. And then also I did a kazoo video that is
I saw
blowing up on YouTube. It's always I've had that kazoo for like 2 years now. And I always thought, oh, I'll do a video, and it's one of those things like the freaking Fender Explorer that I have.
Yeah.
Like I never get around to it, and then when I do it, it blows up, and millions of people want to watch it. Not millions, but a couple thousand.
Tens.
I was like, why didn't I do this video?
Tens of people
Why didn't I
wanted
do
to
this
watch it?
video at the very beginning, you know? But then it wouldn't have gotten the traction it did now that we have better numbers that we do now. But you know what I mean.
11s of people.
But
wanted to see this.
expect a lot more kazoo content out of me now that I know people love it so much.
Every time you get a new pedal, it's just a guitar demo and a kazoo demo.
the last like playing clip in the video is me running a kazoo through it.
That's what every time you get a pedal, we should do a guitar demo,
And a kazoo demo.
a kazoo demo, and, and a bass demo.
Good idea, Steve.
And
Let's just
a,
quadruple my work by doing extra. So I'll do a keyboard demo,
Keyboard demo, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
do a voice
You
demo
got
of my
any-
singing through it.
Dude, that would be cool.
Because I'm such a great
that would be-
singer.
Get a like some kind of a
At one point, my
pitch
wife
shifting pedal.
My wife can sing. At one point, I had set up a singing pedal board for her that she could use like a headphone amp. And I was like, hey, use this, and you can have some fun messing around with this, like a little bit of reverb, a little delay, you know, a little bit of drive if you want to do like megaphone
DS1.
sounds. Yeah, threw a DS1 on there, stacked into a metal zone. Yeah, exactly. You know what I did.
Yeah. a rat, 2 rats.
Do we have anything else new?
No.
That's it, man.
Cool.
You're going to have to go crack another beer.
All right. You want me to do that now?
Yeah, do it right now.
All right.
So another what's new for me is I bruised like a muscle in my rib cage or something like that. I've been riding a bike a lot just to get my kid out of the house. I throw him on the back of the bike, or I go pick him up from preschool on the bike. And I was just like tweaking into the handlebars a lot harder than I should have. So I pulled something like right here on my sternum. But I've also been eating out a lot because of the whole kitchen flood ordeal. Insurance is paying for us to eat out every meal because we don't have a kitchen. And so I started having this pain in my chest today. I was like, oh my gosh, am I having a heart attack? What's going on? Steve, you just unplugged the light. Fix it. There you go. So yeah, I'm not eating as good as I should, and I have a pain in my chest, but it's unrelated. But it still scared me.
Wait, I thought we
thing.
determined that you were eating great.
I'm not eating great.
You've lost so much weight.
I'm just losing weight. I mean, technically, like if you're losing weight, isn't that kind of like a bad thing in a way? Isn't that your body saying like you're not getting as like what I would plan for you to have?
Well, it depends. I guess it just depends on whether or not the weight that you were at was a healthy weight.
Well, I'm an American, so
I mean, if you weigh
probably not.
If you're 5'5" and you weigh 300 pounds, and all of a sudden you stop losing weight, yes, that means your body is not getting.
What beer is this?
This is the Orval Trappist Ale, product of Belgium.
That's good, but different than the other one. The other one was that smoky, musty, and this is more crisp and more citrus, but still has the German thing going on.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
I like
it's
that
definitely
a
like
lot.
a lighter,
Tastes like Christmas.
lighter thing going on.
Should we get into some actual content?
Yeah.
First ad,
This first ad was sent by Chris Skinner. This is a 1977 slant fretted Rickenbacker 481. I don't know why it's specified as slant fretted.
It's hard to tell. I mean, with Rickenbackers in general, it's hard to tell if there's any straight angles on anything because everything's like such a weird shape.
Right.
And the pickups in this are slanted, so it's hard to have anything to gauge it by. Like it's very tricky to like figure out if those frets are slanted at all.
Well, I'm going to read this. It
You
says,
read it, Steve.
I hate to let this go, but here we go. Beautiful custom paint job. Original owner paints cars, and he did a phenomenal job. Hate it or love it, Gibson tremolo system was installed in the early 80s by the original owner. He has since lost the original tailpiece and truss rod cover. They can be ordered from Rickenbacker or an authorized dealer. I replaced the tone and volume knobs a few weeks back, so it's all uniform. Thing plays like a dream. I'm regretting this more and more as I type this thing out. 1750 takes her home. I'll consider trades, but cash is king and likely the only thing taking her home. So this has a Gibson trem on it. I believe this is similar to a like a Collar. Is it Collar or Schaller who made the Wonder Trem, something like that?
Right.
But he refers to this as a slant fretted 481, but as far as I could tell, all the 481s were like this. And I don't even know. So the fret, it's something weird where I believe the frets are slanted to like the neck, but they're still parallel to the pickups and to the bridge.
These things are crazy looking.
Yeah, so it's an original neck.
I'm feeling a little bummed out by the refinish on this thing because all the ones I'm seeing online in original condition have binding on them.
Oh, really?
And this thing lost the binding, making it look like an 80s shredder guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, especially paired with that bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe this one doesn't have binding. That's probably...
Yeah, that one might not.
You think that's the one that this used to be? No, because it's got different fret dots.
And this has the original pickups in it. So these are the original Rickenbacker pickups.
Yeah.
I wonder if this actually sold for $1,750.
That's a good question. It doesn't because it's on Facebook Marketplace. It doesn't tell us what the completed listing is.
It says $1,750 takes her home, but I would assume this guy was open to trades.
Yeah, he might have taken a trade,
or not trades, but like offers. What do you think? So my problem with this color, especially with this black pickguard,
it's very Buick, isn't it?
It's very Mexican Fender.
Oh, that's true too.
This is like a burgundy, not burgundy mist, midnight wine.
Yeah.
Mexican Stratocaster, and especially
this is like
with
the color that
pickguard.
they painted a lot of like 80s Cadillacs or like late 70s Cadillacs. So
yeah,
maybe that's what happened.
And the lack of truss rod cover is what really throws this off for me.
You need that truss cover. I mean, because the truss cover on a Rickenbacker isn't only the truss rod cover, it's like the whole nameplate. It goes the whole length of the headstock.
Exactly.
To be missing that, it's a little off-putting. Honestly, when I first saw this, before reading it, I thought that this was stock and it was some sort of like weird 80s mod. Because it looks like perfectly like something that would have come out of a factory in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was a collar style trim on there, double humbuckers, that sparkly red wine finish, that looks like it's pretty thick. And I was looking at like, did they actually do this? Is this like Rickenbacker trying to be a metal guitar?
Yeah.
In the 80s.
One of the things that's tough too with Rickenbackers in general is the pricing is just
it's bonkers.
Would you pay $1,750 for this?
No, never. Well, that's something I wanted to discuss. If you were going to drop that kind of money on a Rickenbacker, wouldn't you prefer to have the full Rickenbacker styling? Like you're not going to. Would you get this over like a traditional looking Rickenbacker? Because that's part of the attraction is the traditional look.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already funky in their stock state. Why would anyone want this now over a standard Rick look is my question.
Well, the flip side of it
I could see wanting this in the 80s and being like, I took a Rick and made it a shredder. But I don't get it at all now.
Right.
Like no one's going to like laugh at this joke and be like, that's clever.
The thing with that though is, it looks like they did make 481s that weren't slant fret. So the slant fret is a more specific thing. So there were a lot of the slant fret is a specific model, but it's actually it's frequently called out as the 481 slant fret.
Sure.
On reverb
these days they just call them fan frets. It's the same sort of thing, right?
It's not a fan fret though. It's not fanning at all.
All the frets are slanting.
All the frets are slanting at the same angle.
Okay.
It's actually that
I see now.
It's just off parallel, but everything should be basically
But it kind of gives you the same
I should
functionality
say
of a slant fret. I mean, of a fan fret.
It's off perpendicular to no. So it's off perpendicular from the neck, but it's still all parallel to the bridge. So it's still giving you the same.
Well, it gives you the
same fretting distance. It's just giving you like a weird.
I know that there's the benefit to a fan fret where it compensates the tension of the strings because there's different lengths.
Right.
But it gives you the benefit of a fan fret where when you get to the higher frets, your hand is at a more pleasing angle.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
so there's
maybe
that benefit because up on the cowboy quarter area and the lower frets, there's plenty of room for you to position any way that you want.
Yeah, you might have like a little more room there. So here's the thing with this being 1750. The cheapest slant fret on Reverb right now is $2,200.
Yeah.
So at 1750, this guy is basically already saying like, yeah, look, I know this is a freak guitar. I'm giving you like $500 off.
If you're dropping big money on a Rick, do you compromise your desire for a Rick to get this mutt? You know.
I mean, I don't. I would want if I wanted a Rick, I would want a traditional style Rick.
If you had the budget, you drop the extra $400 or $500 to get it, right?
Sure.
This is a limited market for this thing, is all I'm saying.
I mean, that's only watching my stock values increase for like another 3 or 4 days because I'm Super Rich Steve.
He's back, Super Rich Steve.
Prost.
We need to make a Super Rich Steve T-shirt. So that I can make money off the concept.
Nice. All right, you got anything more on this?
No, I don't.
All right. So today in
Gear News?
In news.
If you're going to rip off the Guitar Nerds, you should rip off their current stuff.
I don't know what the
It just has like a big theme song opening and then he goes, news. Those guys have been name dropping us a lot, and I don't want to jinx it and make them feel awkward by calling it out.
Yeah, whatever.
But they've been mentioning us on the show quite a bit, and it makes me feel bad that we aren't talking about them, even though we love those boys, and we appreciate it.
Hi.
And everyone should go listen to the Guitar Nerds podcast because
after you finish listening to this podcast,
if you have time, after you listen to every single one of our episodes first, go spend time on their show. But it's like, I consider them our sister show in a lot of ways, just in that, like... I
mean, we did come first.
We are the older show at this point. But, like, we cover the used market, and we cover that kind of world, and they cover, like, the new market, and, like they're always on the pulse of retail stuff.
Except this time.
Now we're going to do it.
We're going to do it first.
We're budging into your territory, Guitar Nerds, which means I give you permission to cover one used thing on your show.
Haven't they been covering more used stuff since whenever Packham comes back, all he does is pimp Reverb?
Well, they talk about used stuff when one of them comes back from Japan and they go to all the fancy guitar markets, which I'm super jealous of. I want to go to Japan and look at all the guitar markets.
The Line 6 Helix HX Stomp was announced today.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
today
that
being
is
Thursday.
I believe that is the full title of the item. This is... Yeah, it's the HX Stomp. So this is basically Line 6 taking their Helix system and putting it in what is effectively like
a double-sized
M5
pedal.
Yeah, it's like an M5. If you guys remember the Line 6 M5, the thing is the M5 was just a modeler, right? Or was just effects only, right?
Yeah, this looks more conveniently sized to me than the M5 did.
Yeah,
because it looks like it's normal pedal thickness. The M5 was super thick, which made it awkward to put anywhere on your board. I wonder how much power this thing needs.
I'm sure it uses its own thing because
that was part of my problem with the M5 is that the plug stuck straight out the back and didn't have a right angle.
It does say, it's 9 volts DC, but it's 3 amps.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of amps.
Like 2 one-spots.
Yeah, so it's going to need its own brick. Which isn't surprising. It's a computer, you know.
But I'm
surprised it doesn't have the IC plug.
Here's the thing, right? Like It's 300.
It probably has a power brick that you have to stick under your board that's like that big.
Right. So it has 300 Helix amps, cabs, and effects. You can run up to 6 banks simultaneously, I believe.
Well, I think it has all the Helix stuff in it. It's just a Helix, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a small version of the Helix. It has a bunch of Line 6 legacy effects, capacitive sensing foot switches with color-coded LCD rings.
Oh, you've used the Helix, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't? But don't they have one at your church?
Yeah, I don't use it. I have my own stuff, bro.
Do you know what it means by the capacitance?
Doesn't that just mean it's like touch, like pressure sensitive?
It's like one of those lamps you turn on by touching it.
Right.
So they've got the foot stumpers there, but if you touch it with your finger, then it gets into, like you see in this picture here, you've got the twin harmony, the delay, and the tap tuner, and it corresponds to these 3 foot switches.
Right.
So you would tap that with your finger, and it would go into all the settings for that, versus you stepping on it, which would just engage it and turn it on and off.
Okay, so this is off topic a bit.
Drop it on me, man.
The only thing have you used a Helix?
I've used it in passing. Like I used it in Germany, and I used it. I'm pretty sure that's what David Hill has, right? I think he was showing it to me at Sweetwater.
That sounds right. So the only thing I know about the Helix is my worship leader has told me several times, if you ever want to use it, just let me know. I'll let you use it. And I'm like, I've got like a 10, 11 pedal board. So I'm like, well, I've already put this thing together.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run with it. And then one of our friends used it one time and he goes, that thing's a piece of garbage. And it comes back to it
was like his user experience, right?
Yeah, because there was an issue
interface.
with I think the volume pedal kept like segregating itself from everything else, so it would just not work. And
interesting.
So like the volume would like just die in the middle of, I don't know if he was like touching something or whatever, but the volume pedal would just cut out. And so our worship leader had to come over and like reprogram it, and then it did it again. He's like, that thing's a piece of garbage. Why isn't I just rather have everything be discrete. So I don't know. Obviously lots of people use them and lots of people love them.
Yeah.
I think it's
you have to get
it's really like a learning curve issue.
Yeah. I get what's going on over there, like having it and you guys using like, here, use this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, I mean, the Line 6 guy at Germany was basically educated me on how to use the Helix and, did a good job.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of it now, but he ran me through it. I was like, oh, yeah, now that you show this to me in like 20 minutes, now I could totally get in here and make all my own patches and do my own stuff and understand all the routing and stuff. But if you just threw it at someone, like, hey, you're playing today, you're using this, like it would be perplexing.
Yeah, and to my worship leader's credit, he has said, like, if you want to come in, I've got all of my patches on it already. You can come in and use it.
Yeah.
And then you can like take it. You can like take it home with you to mess around with if you want to. So the thing that's funny about this though, and this goes back to what I mentioned at the top of the show, is I kind of like. So I put together that Keep It Simple Stupid rig for Teletalks, and it's a Timmy, a 1981 Inventions Drive.
Right.
A Caroline kilobyte, so delay. So it's drive, distortion, delay, and then a Quiet Theory Prelude, which is a delay and a reverb.
Okay.
So this board is reverb, 2 delays, and 2 dirts, basically.
Yeah, and you can stack those dirts for your like a high gain sort of thing.
And then I've got my Palmer pocket amp on there, which is a direct box, all-in-one sort of situation. This doesn't have an XLR output. It does have cab sim though. So my board, this 4-pedal plus interface board, was real quick $950.
Right.
This Line 6 HX Stomp is $600.
Is it 600?
It is.
Did you confirm that?
I was able to. Somebody posted a screenshot from Sweetwater has them on sale now.
Okay.
And they had a discount code for Sweetwater, so they were like, I could get this for $500 because it was like a 15% off.
I mean,
thing.
I'll say like at that price point, this makes way more sense to me than the full Helix does, and that's something I was discussing with. I mean, here's the point I'm trying to make that I was discussing with the Line 6 rep when I was at Thomann. It's like I like to use pedals.
Yeah.
I like to use stuff that's like new or does something unique that, you know, the Line 6 Helix will never do because, you know, someone invented a new way for, you know, like a phaser to work or something like that, or like a fuzz with a really quirky setting on it. I like to use things that have various specific voices where like I could use the loops in the full Helix, but I'd much rather have something like this that can be incorporated to my existing board.
Right. Well, and this still will do for...
And at that price point, that's like 3 pedals that I would normally get.
Yeah, and this is still has 4-cable method.
Yeah, it's got a loop in it.
So you can still...
It's got stereo through.
You can pretty much use it as like a normal kind of a...
It's got
you can use it however you want. You can use it in the middle of your board. You can like...
It's got an expression jack.
You can run a fuzz and then into this thing and then into your modulations in the loop and then back into this thing and then output to your thing, to your...
I mean, and with...
I keep saying thing.
Yeah,
output
your
it
thing.
to your,
Yeah, you know, your thing.
Put it in your thing.
Put it in your thing. That's the title of the show right there.
So, you know, there's a lot of options there. Obviously, the thing that weirds me out about all of it is it only has three switches.
Yeah. And I don't see it. People who have already used the Helix probably already know how it's going to work, but I don't see an intuitive way to like switch through patches and banks.
Right. And
as it is right now. So it's like, do you have to have like a scene selected or like a bank selected, and then you just have control over those 3 settings on there? Or like, are you holding things down to go through banks?
Yeah, there's a knob that is labeled page, which I would think is what allows you to like scroll through your different.
You don't want to do that live.
Exactly.
So is it like a one and done sort of thing? You set up your one sound and that's what you have. I mean, which isn't. I mean, for $600, it's not the worst thing in the world. But that's my big question, and I'm glad you hit on that. Is like, can you bank through settings? How does that work? So that can you select different sounds song to song or within songs? You know, I know that you with what we're seeing here, just with the screen grab, you can turn off a delay or turn it on in a harmony, but in like the tap tuner and stuff. But I want to know about the rest, you know.
I think I'm guessing, if you have,
and are you going to need external foot switches to bank through things? Like, can this do it?
Would that be like? Well, I mean, if you have like the MIDI, if you have like a MIDI controller, you get into that whole thing.
I don't want to do that. I mean, those are the negatives to me.
And we're saying that these are potential negatives because we don't actually know.
But here's my big negative: is the learning curve with this. Where like I kind of like my pedal board to be kind of stupid,
right?
In the way where it's like, I turn that on, I know what it's going to sound like. I do this, I twist that knob. If something goes bad, I just yank it out and stretch a cable over. Where like you kind of have to learn the language of this Helix stuff. Or any multi-effect these days, really, these multi-effect supercomputer floorboards that you get.
Right. So just from looking at a couple different screenshots, I have a feeling, the way it's set up is you're basically building a chain of effects.
Right.
Which are the different colored dots that you see on the LCD screen.
Well, that's how it is on the full Helix.
And then you have just a specific couple effects in that chain that you can turn off and on, and the rest of them are just always on.
Right.
So the idea is that if you're building scenes, for lack of a better term,
that might be what they call them. I think
set,
one of these systems does use scenes as the terminology.
I don't know if that's this one. Pages, scenes, whatever they call them. That basically you would say like, okay, for this song, I'm going to use this sound, and I'm going to have like a foot switch to turn the fuzz on and off because I want fuzz on the chorus but off, but otherwise I'm using everything the same for this whole song. Like I'm only changing this one thing out. So maybe if you're doing like if you have songs where you have like 12 effects that are not even 12, like if you have more than 2 or 3 effects that you need to turn off and back on a single song, then maybe you're limited by this. because you only have the 3 switches. I
Yeah.
don't really know. And this product literally dropped today.
I'm sure other people already know how the system works because they're already familiar with the Helix, and this is just such a dumb topic for us to be talking about. But it's like, I don't know, maybe I think it's a legitimate concern for us to like wonder how this thing functions and how it'll function in a set.
Yeah.
Like, I had the M5, and just its user interface was non-functional for me, and so much of it was non-functional for me in a like live sort of setting, the way I use stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something about this where I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't really use it. But then on the other side, like this thing is a good size. The dimensions look good.
Yeah.
Barely bigger than a normal double-sized pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Does a crap ton of stuff for an attractive price. I thought the amp models in the Helix, when I got to mess around with it, sounded very decent.
Cool.
Lots of good sounds in there. I mean, the only thing I couldn't get it to do that I'm partial to is, the spring reverb sound.
Right.
But I've got all sorts of pedals that do that now, and this can work on a board. And we're both running direct now when we play at church.
Yeah.
And like the amp models would sound better than what I'm probably doing now with the new X.
What are you using? Oh, you're using that for it to go direct?
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we should get one of these and mess around with it.
I think there's a lot of people who have been Helix curious, but kind of turned off by the price point.
And also, it's like, I think that
who would do something smaller that would incorporate into their rig.
Right. I think that's the intimidating thing too. Like, I mean, the meme in the different groups we're in, or the joke, it's like, oh, selling all my stuff to get a Helix.
Right.
We're like, I don't think most people want to sell all their stuff or replace their entire rig or their entire board to get a Helix. They want to still use the stuff that they like, and they want a Helix. And so this is for that person.
Yeah.
And it makes a ton of sense. And that price is pretty dang good.
Yep.
If it has the functionality, if it is $600, I'm sorry, that's tempting.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was on Reverb for 600. So, or not Reverb, on Sweetwater.
Yeah.
So I know the original Music Radar price, I think, was $840.
That's probably,
but if Music Radar says
MSRP
$840
or whatever,
that might have been MSRP. So,
or it's in
no, because
some foreign currency.
They listed US and
really?
And I think either pounds or pound sterling or euros. So they did list 2 prices.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to see how this develops. I want to see videos of people using it. Maybe we'll get one and figure out how to use it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be cool. Could be cool. Oh, do we want to jump into other stuff? I was thinking about backtracking into what's new. Or do you have anything else to say about the Helix Stomp?
I don't have anything else to say about the Helix Stomp. I'm trying to figure out where you're going to backtrack.
My band played a show. I ran a stereo rig for like my first time ever.
I was trying to figure out why you took 2 amps.
Yeah, I posted this picture of like everything I brought to the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I already had the Katana in my trunk.
Right.
And so I was like, well, I'm not going to trust that to do everything because I don't know what the space is going to be like, and I know what like works for my sound. So I brought the acoustic 150. But I left the Katana in there, and I threw a splitter on my board. And I ran the Katana like side stage, pointing across the stage so that it would beam me and my guitarist and my bassist.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out really well, and it sounded really good. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should just get a second Katana and run those in stereo instead of hauling the acoustic around.
Right.
Even though the acoustic is beautiful and sounds great. Mm-hmm. In a live setting, it's a lot to haul around, and those Katanas are so convenient.
Yeah,
they're so freaking loud too.
Yeah, when you said like, "Oh, I'm bringing all this stuff," and I'm like, "It's all getting used," like, because I know you used to, wasn't I know for at least like maybe your previous show, you were bringing like an extra amp for somebody in your band to use because they like weren't bringing their own
amp. Yeah, I brought the Katana when we played Tiki Oasis for my guitarist to use because his amp is a Bandmaster, and these shows happen up in hotel rooms that are super,
so it's
like you have to get up.
It's like way too big.
Yeah, you have to get up staircases and stuff with them. So I brought the Katana in it, and that functioned perfectly. But that was in a little hotel room. This was like in a big warehouse.
Right.
And I was running the Katana and the acoustic at the same time, and it sounded great. And it sounded great, especially having my playing beamed more directly at my head from the side, so I didn't have to crank the acoustic and murder the audience with it. So I was thinking about that just because I could throw this on my board and have quick stereo options out of it.
You could. Is the Katana open back?
It is.
You could just throw this in the back of one of your Katanas.
But I need the rest of my pedal board.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying this can be pedal board friendly. I don't know. That's my caveat there.
Gotcha.
Do you want to jump into other stuff?
Yeah.
Do we have any housekeeping?
Yeah. No, we got some sponsors to talk about.
Oh yeah, sponsors.
This show is sponsored by Gun Street Wiring Shop. Gun Street is great, guys. Gun
Street is great, guys, says Steve Rowe of San Diego County. Long silence.
So anyway, if you are looking for something traditional like a classic Les Paul 50s wiring setup or a Telecaster Esquire type wiring, hit them up. If you want,
put a Telecaster Esquire style wiring in your Les Paul. It's a good idea. They'll do it for you.
Oh man.
Put Les Paul wiring in your Telecaster.
If you want something modern with coil splits, push-pull pots,
out of phase
changes.
Yeah.
If you want something in between, a little bit of a hybrid setup, hit Gun Street Wiring Shop up. They will set you up with something you need, or just go check their website out and see what kind of options they have.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
A ton of people on our Facebook group have been getting Gun Street harnesses, which is
yes, they have.
Always is impressive to me that we have that amount of sway and we can convince you guys to spend your money on stuff. But it seems like everyone's really, really happy and really excited about them.
Yeah.
And can confirm the things that we've said about them. So if you don't trust us, go ask the group.
The wiring schematics they send out are great. They're really easy to follow. Basically, if you know how to solder and you know how to read, you can do it.
I mean, my thing still is that
Ryan
this is a long sponsorship.
Did it, and he can barely solder and he can barely read. So there you go. Testimony.
Here's my thing. I can rewire any guitar I want to. I can download schematics. I can do it all. But it takes me like a full Saturday to rewire my SG. It takes me a full Saturday to do that, and I'm always backtracking and having to fix things that I did wrong. I swapped out all the wiring and dropped in the Gun Street harness in a lunch break.
Yeah.
Like that's the selling point in my opinion of buying a harness. Like, it's just a time saver, and time is something I don't have a lot of these days. So I don't think I'll ever rewire an SG all by myself ever again. I'm going to get harnesses for sure.
This week's episode is also brought to you by Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture. If you are looking for a cable with TechFlex, go check out Sinusoid. TechFlex is
you should be looking for a cable with
plasticky coat. Like, it's not a coating, it's a sleeve that goes over your cable. It's great. It makes your cable slide around all over on the stage. It keeps everything nice and loose, and it feels very solid in a very protective way.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love my TechFlex cable.
I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I'll say it right now. I'm never going to buy a stage cable again that doesn't have TechFlex on it.
Yeah. Sinusoid has a bunch of pattern options, a bunch of colors available. If you check out the TechFlex website and you see something that maybe Sinusoid doesn't have, shoot them an email and maybe they can hook you up.
You might be able to convince them to carry a new color.
You might want something and they don't have it, and they're like, we don't have that yet, but maybe we should. Maybe we could promote that and sell a bunch of it. So we're going to buy some.
Who knows? Who knows? So we're making promises for our sponsor and they haven't cleared it at all. So who knows?
So head on over to sinusoid.com. They make cables.
And smiles.
All right. Hey, Ryan, I got a question for you.
I'm ready to answer your question, Steve.
Have you replaced your soldering iron yet?
Not yet, but I should.
All right.
When the kitchen finally gets done and I can clear a lot of this extra junk out of the garage, I've got a bunch of projects I need to work on. So I am going to need a new soldering iron. Jump on the group or here on the YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, comment to me which soldering iron I should get, because I should replace my busted ass old soldering iron.
FX888D.
A Hako FX888D. I'll definitely remember that, Steve.
All right. This next ad was sent in by Chris Sutton. He says, while perusing stands at a local arts fair this past weekend, I stumbled upon these gems. The owner describes his guitar
Guitart.
Guitart approach as a concept of finding music in peculiar everyday objects while challenging himself to shape the objects into stringed instruments. The asking price is $125 for each guitar, which is what the builder claims he has invested financially in the projects. Unknown are the quality of parts sourced for these ventures, the quality of the build, or the functionality of the final product. Also available for purchase were a series of kalimbas carefully crafted from receptacles, including cigar boxes, tin cans, and similar small structures. What's a kalimba? Do you know?
Thumb piano. I think we can see them here.
That's what those are. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the first two guitars here are kind of standard fare for your like flea market arts craft thing. You've got a suitcase guitar and you've got a bedpan guitar.
No, that's not a suitcase guitar. It's a briefcase full of blues.
Okay.
That's not a bedpan guitar. It's the Stratocrafter.
We get bedpan guitars sent to the show all the time.
Yeah, so I will say, like, as soon as I saw these, I thought, like,
whatever.
This again.
But then you go to the next picture.
Yes.
And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, memories, nostalgia waves over me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, do I need this guitar in my life? This is incredible. It is a guitar neck attached to a Gateway PC keyboard. And it's called the QWERTY 2.
Yeah. He says earlier that...
I mean, this is...
He's not sure. He's like, I'm not unknown of the quality of the part sourced for these ventures, but I'm pretty sure that this is a high-quality mechanical keyboard that was sacrificed to build this guitar.
Well, it's one of those keyboards that looks very, like, late 90s, where they're trying to style it after, like, the dashboard of, like, a Saturn like minivan,
right. It's got all these extra buttons on it,
and like the smooth, like ergonomic, like round eggy shapes everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like a blast from the past for me because like I grew up using these kinds of keyboards on the
pickup,
crappy Gateway computers my dad would pick up from Fry's. You know,
the pickup on this QWERTY 2,
it blends in perfectly.
It looks like it's off of a First Act. It's got that.
Well, I was going to say
bubbling going on.
The bedpan guitar looks like it's a First Act neck.
Oh yeah, it does.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's grabbing parts from First Act. Yeah, that's a First Act pickup for sure.
This is the one that took me from this is interesting to we got to talk about this. Is our next picture,
next one
the Flying V.
Yes, this is the best Flying V I've ever seen.
Yeah,
the body is made out of like giant plastic model of a fighter jet.
Yeah, it's a.
Are you gonna give me the jet
F-14.
model? That's an F-14.
It's an F-14 Tomcat.
Does it say that somewhere, or you just
no?
knew?
I just know because it's the only.
That's the one that buzzes your house every day.
I don't want to say it's the only, but it is a adjustable wing.
This is the Top Gun
aircraft.
jet, right?
Yeah,
because it's got those wings. Yeah,
this is the guitar that you want when you need to cruise the danger zone.
When you've got a need for speed.
This is a guitar you want when you're playing a show and you want to take everyone's breath away.
I kind of wish it was Blue Angels themed.
Oh my God.
I know that's a different jet, but...
the Blue Angels used to fly these, I believe. Yeah, like 20 years ago.
Is this an old jet, Steve?
They don't fly them anymore.
I know that Top Gun's an old movie, so it must be an old jet. But I do kind of miss seeing these fly around because we live... immediately adjacent, both Steve and I, to the base where Top Gun was filmed. Mm-hmm. Like I'm on one side of it, you're on the other, but the jets are like a constant part of our life.
Dude, the air show last weekend, I was dying.
Well, you're right under the path now. Like we got them a couple times. I was like, oh, there they are. How charming.
Gone most of the weekend too, so it wasn't as bad as it was for my wife. But I was hearing them a lot.
My wife.
All of a sudden, like Friday morning, at my office, I just started hearing what I thought was construction, and then I realized there is no construction worker whose use of a hammer, like a hammer drill? What do they call it?
Yeah, sure. Like an air drill.
Is that consistent?
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, because that is the ground assault demo where they're like blown up.
Oh yeah.
Where they're blown up all the bombs.
I could hear that over here on Saturday.
Yeah.
They like set off charges in the landfill that's on the other side of the base to make it look like the jets are dropping bombs.
Yeah.
I could feel it in the ground. It was like poof, 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 poof.
Yeah.
Poof.
I was just sitting at my desk and I was like, What in the world?
Did you ever see the clip of the local clip of Kenny Loggins on the beach? That's who recorded Highway to the Danger Zone, right?
Yes.
So there was this helicopter that had to make an emergency landing in Del Mar.
Mm-hmm.
And on the beach where it made the landing, the news crew showed up to like cover the event.
Yeah.
Who was on the beach but Kenny Loggins himself? You can find this video on YouTube. And the news crew went up to him randomly like, hey, what happened? And he starts quoting his own songs like, hey, guys, I'm Kenny Loggins. And it was Kenny Loggins. Uh-huh. Yeah, I saw it coming in. It was coming in hot and fast. It's coming in on the danger zone. He starts like dropping references to his own song. He just happened to be on the beach.
Oh, my gosh.
And witness this thing and get interviewed by the news.
I need to watch this
And
now.
he just looks like a regular dude on the beach, you know? Sorry to sidetrack so hard into
So the real question with all of this is...
Welcome to 60 Cycle Hum, the Jet Talk podcast.
Would you pay $125 for any of these?
If I had a band that needed the theme of the Jet or the keyboard guitar, I'd be on it.
You would get the keyboard guitar for a Kraftwerk cover band, and you get the Flying V for a Kenny Loggins cover band. All right. This next topic is one that we've been talking about for a bit. What do you want to call this segment?
Fender and Gibson are not competitors.
Yeah. So we get this comment a lot with the Gibson 2019 lineup coming out and Ryan doing, 3 videos on it?
I did.
You've done 2, and I was on one of them.
I did my
basically.
reaction to the whole line, and then you and I did the video where we talked about the actual value.
And then you did dip switches.
Oh, yeah, I did the dip switches. So I've done 3 clickbaity Gibson things. Here comes number 4. Here we are.
Welcome
you
to
guys,
the clickbait.
You guys click, and really, you're the one baiting me into making more of these things.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about
Idiots.
this. I've been thinking, yeah, you bunch of jerks. I've been thinking about this a lot because a lot of the comments were like comparing Gibson to Fender,
right?
As far as like buyability and things like that, and like purchasability and whatever.
Yeah, and from a price range perspective, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Right.
If you're just saying like, well, but the whole idea of,
because you can go buy an American like pretty good Fender for just over $1,000, right? I feel like I need to look up the prices.
You can get it. Yeah, you can get like whatever the current equivalent to the Americans, the old what used to be the American Special, which might still be called the American Special. I want to say it's like 1,100, 1,200, something like that. The American Professional Series, I want to say, is like 1,600 or 1,700, something like that. So either way, people want to say like, oh, the American Professional Series is Fender's equivalent to the Gibson Les Paul Standard. But I guess where we're going with this is like nobody who is in the market for a Stratocaster, I should say nobody who's in the market for a Les Paul is going to a guitar store and be going, I really want a Les Paul. Oh, this Les Paul Standard's $3,400. I'll just get this Stratocaster instead.
Yeah, I mean, and the concept here that I keep thinking about, like, they're completely different constructions of guitar and completely different styles of guitar across the board, across all their models. Like, no one is saying, I can't afford this Gibson, I'll buy a Strat instead, or even a Telecaster instead. It's just, even with the Fender models that are trying for a Tune-o-matic plus humbuckers sort of concept.
Right.
I don't think those are grabbing Gibson sales. I think they're I think they're an interesting novelty for people who would still bought Fender.
Well, I think there's a little bit of that, and I think it depends on the price point. So I would say like the old like what they called the Fender FMT Telecaster, which is a flamed maple top Telecaster with 2 humbuckers. That was effectively probably, I think they sold for like $600 new. That was probably like targeting the upper end Epiphone users who were just people who were looking for like a mahogany body, maple top, dual humbucker guitar. But once you're in the price range of looking at like a a Gibson Les Paul traditional, like up in that 2K range, like you're not going in thinking, what is the best Les Paul for my money, and walking out with a Telecaster.
Right, totally. Like,
you might be going in and saying,
I understand that they're the two like biggest profile brands that there are
Right.
in electric guitar. Is, you know, like a lot of stuff stems from Fender or Gibson, but I feel like they're so drastically in their own neighborhood
Yeah.
that people don't buy Fender over Gibson or Gibson over Fender. They'll buy either or they'll buy both.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't say like nobody, like I said earlier, like nobody would do it. I'm sure there's somebody who like has, because, you know, I guarantee you
I'm scrolling through. I scrolled through Fenders that are available in Sweetwater,
Those are all
USA
Gibsons.
Fenders, and then I scrolled through
okay.
Gibsons, and it's like some of the stuff lines up in the same price point, but some
Right.
of Gibson's stuff is wildly more expensive than Fender stuff. But it's still just, to me, it's a matter of just complete concept difference and construction difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, you know, and it's not even that one is superior to the other. The general consensus, I guess, is that doing a set neck build is a little more complicated than doing a bolt-on neck build. You know, but I've heard, it's funny, like we had a comment that said, why is anyone using set neck build? Set neck is dumb. Like everything should be bolt-on. It's like, well, you know,
Some people like that, and that's fine.
you know, especially if it's like a long tenon set neck. So you have like the neck is really like set into the body deeply.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Long tenon?
I don't know, dude.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm mixing up my terms. But yeah, it is like an interesting idea. I think that there is probably some product crossover, but I think for the most part, like if you go into the store wanting a Les Paul, there's a range of Les Pauls for you to pick from. Probably if like you're trying to get a Les Paul with, say, if for lack of a better description, like you're trying to get a Les Paul with Fender money, you're just going to get a Les Paul Studio and be done.
Sure.
And I mean, really, like that's how it's always been, because 15 years ago, the Gibson Les Paul Studio was basically the same price as a Fender American standard Stratocaster. It was right around that $1,200-$1,300 price point. So it's just always been that way.
I think the only time Fender and Gibson are competitors, like the only scenario, is with people who are completely new to electric guitar as a concept, and they're trying to decide which road they're going to go down.
Right.
And that's going to happen in either Fender's Squire line up and through their Mexican line.
Right.
And it's against Epiphone.
Right. Epiphone, or maybe like Les Paul faded, you know, Les Paul special.
But like the faded models don't even exist new anymore. Like we're talking about new stuff. If we were covering used territory, then it's like, yeah, the Mexican Strats
Well, you can
that
still
are like
find
$300 bucks are going to compete against.
You can still find the
faded.
the 2016, 2017 faded in stores. They are new.
Sure.
It's not like they all just fell off the face of the earth.
Right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But it is kind of like, it's a funny thing, and all of this Gibson talk lately, it's like always, so like Fender's models are kind of all the same price in terms.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is like the American Professional Stratocaster is effectively going to be within like $100 or so of the American Telecaster. The Jazzmaster is a bit more expensive, I want to say.
Right.
Though they have some different model price points in there. Whereas like Gibson, you're kind of all over the map. I think the the SG standard is like $1,600 or $1,700.
Yeah.
Like it's significantly cheaper than the Les Paul standard. And really, with that one, that's the one that really throws me off because...
I mean, still I say that no matter the price, because the concepts are so different,
right,
it doesn't matter.
That's one of those ones where it throws me off a little bit just because from a build standpoint, the only obvious difference I see is the maple cap. And I can see the price difference of a maple cap being like $400 or $500. I have trouble wrapping my brain around the idea that it's double.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me.
Well, I think Gibson builds in different numbers and like a different factory setup than what Fender does too. Like Fender's guitars are very squarely like Henry Ford style factory guitars.
Right.
Where
right.
Gibson kind of leans more into a crafted guitar,
Sure.
sort of factory scenario
Yeah,
with
fewer employees, probably.
fewer employees. But I think
A
also
little
just
more hands-on.
I would be very surprised to find out if they were selling the same amount of guitars. I think they work on a different business model. But yeah, looking back through Fender guitars that are US guitars, I'm not seeing anything pop over $2,000. Here's a limited edition Parallel Universe Strat that's like the Telestyle Strat, and that's squarely $2,000. I haven't seen anything else.
I
over
think if you
$2,000.
were finding like the Elite series, I think is
Right. I mean, you
over
start getting
$2,000.
into like the custom shop stuff and things like that. Then you start popping over that. But like I said, I don't think the price is even a factor.
Yeah.
What brands do you think are a competitor with Gibson or Fender?
I think for Fender,
I mean, there's brands that probably compete with both of them. Like you think of like the Schechters and the ESPs of the world. Like they're trying to hit both kinds of guitars.
right? So like the ESP Eclipse line, which is made in Japan, is going to compete pretty well with the Gibson stuff. I think.
No. Who is actually, and this is based on so many comments on these videos that we've made, who is actually the competitor against Gibson, who is the competitor grabbing their potential market when Gibson is disappointing customers, is PRS.
Yeah, and that was the other one I was going to say is Paul Reed Smith, because they have the availability. They're
coming with the quality, and they're coming with the features that people who traditionally want Les Pauls are going for.
And the interesting thing to me about that is
they're kind of stratty guitars, though.
The guitars I've seen suggested is the CE line, which is a bolt-on neck.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think even the Custom 22 and Custom 24, I believe, are priced pretty similarly to the Gibson Les Paul standard. So people who are afraid of kind of getting bit by the Gibson quality control horror stories will gravitate towards PRS.
Someone was asking me in the comments, they're like, have you had a bad experience with Gibson quality control? Can you show me like what people are talking about? Because it seems like everyone says it, but they don't have actual like examples of it. Is it just something that we keep repeating as a mantra, like that they have quality control? I don't know. That they have quality control issues? I don't know. I haven't actually had those experiences myself. I know that some people probably have, but are we just noticing it more because it is Gibson and we kind of want to pick on them? Or is there a real issue there?
I mean, I think I have definitely played lower end model Gibsons that were pretty bad.
Okay.
Like faded series stuff where I was like, did anyone even bother like looking at the frets on this? Because they were like Squire bad.
Oh yeah.
In terms of like sharp fret ends, I wasn't finding like dead spots, but it was the kind of thing where like you run your hand up and down the neck and you're like
cheese grater.
Then you look at it and you're surprised you're not bleeding out, kind of a thing. So I've had that experience, but with the higher end stuff, I haven't seen it. I just, again, it's horror stories.
Sure.
And that's, I think reputation is a big deal in that kind of thing. And the flip side of it is, people will avoid PRS because even though they're priced similarly, like PRS, unfortunately, like does carry like either like more of a proggy air or a little bit of just a snootiness, whereas Gibson is the working man's whatever.
Is there anyone now saying that Gibson is a working man's guitar?
I think the visual is that Gibson is like a working man's guitar. I'm not saying that's a real thing. I'm saying that I
think like a Les Paul is squarely like, this is the classic. This is the double cheeseburger, of guitars. Like this is the go-to classic rock guitar. And it's always going to have an appeal in that way,
And that's what I mean. It's like when I think of
where like a PRS is like, it might be a double cheeseburger, but it's got mushrooms on it,
Right. Well,
and it comes with truffle fries.
Yeah. And I think like when I think of, so I don't know, when you think of Gibson Les Paul artists, like who do you think of?
Slash, think of, Jimmy Page, think of freaking.
And when you think of PRS, who do you think of?
Carlos Santana.
Exactly. So granted, like Santana isn't like Santana was just a different side of the
I
Zeppelin.
think of the Lone Rangers playing that show that night they got out of the radio studio before they went to jail.
What?
Steve is not following the reference.
What is this a reference?
It's the movie
to?
with Brendan Fraser
Oh,
and
Airheads.
Adams. Yeah, Airheads.
Did they play PRS?
Yeah, they had the Dragon PRS in the end, and he pretended he was going to smash it, and then he did. And
gotcha. Yeah, and the funny thing about that, even as I run it through my head, is like Santana was kind of just like the flip side of the Zeppelin coin. Like
what he was playing before, he was playing PRS relatively later in his career. Like when you look at Santana playing in the prime of his career, what I guess probably classic rock people would consider the prime of his career. His pocketbook probably says the 90s were the prime of his career.
Sure.
But like in the 70s and whatnot, he was playing Yamahas.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking more along like I would say that both of them fit on kind of like the rock and roll spectrum. Led Zeppelin is just more on like the hard rock side of it. Santana was simultaneously both less and more accessible.
Also, like PRS was kind of one of the bigger guitar companies to go to like visual brands in the 90s into the early 2000s with all like the new metal stuff going on,
right?
And a lot of the kind of like harder rock, modern rock stuff happening in the late 90s. And I think they really captured that audience, people who still look at PRS and like, oh, that's the guitar to get. Mm-hmm. The people who are, gainfully employed working professionals now who were young people in the 90s. People our age, is what I'm saying.
What would you say is the competition for Fender?
Everyone.
Like
everyone makes a bolt-on Strat style guitar.
Well, and there is definitely something to that because of the pushback on the Fender American Professional being what I say like 16, 17, whatever.
Yeah.
Is people are now saying like, well, if you're going to spend that much, just spend another like $200-300 and get a Danocaster or a Nash.
I mean, there's a lot of great builders out there making Fender style stuff. I think their selling point is, and it's always going to be their, the name on the headstock. Sure. And if you want a Fender, you want a Fender, and there's benefits that come to buying the name brand. You know, it's the resale value is there, the collectability is there, the parts are there. Even though you can, all these builders are using parts that are compatible with any Fender guitar, really.
Right.
And it's like, the modability with a stock Fender is an attraction. They're a completely modular guitar, and you can do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how these, the parallel universe stuff does as far as collectability goes in the distant future.
Yeah.
Like, so will these like really weird, like one-off kind of like they'll never revisit kind of builds, will they be just curiosities or will they have value?
Right. So I want to hear in the comments if you're seeing this on YouTube
or if you're on the Facebook group,
what kind of what you guys think of if you're considering picking up a Les Paul, like Gibson Les Paul. What other brands are you looking at? If you're considering getting something from Fender, what other brands are you looking at?
Yeah,
leave us a comment.
Who are the real competitors of these brands? Because I still say, going back to the initial concept, I still do not believe at all in the vast majority of cases that Fender and Gibson are actually competing with each other. I think they cater to completely different players. Yeah. And even if a player has guitars from both brands, it's not because they are choosing one or the other. They're choosing one and the other for different styles of playing.
What is it that you always say? Like, comment, subscribe. Leave us rude and nasty comments.
Support us on Patreon.
Yeah. Speaking of Patreon,
you want to do some housekeeping?
We got a couple new additions. Pavel J upgraded to the best friends level. That's a $5 level where I need to reach out to him because I owe him some swag. The $5 level is where you get some swag.
Yeah, I give you a bunch of new stickers. So you got stickers to send out. And I ordered pins. Mm-hmm. I haven't been updated on when those are coming in, but I did order them.
We had an ad.
Not writing pins. I mean, like the pins you can put on your pins. You can put them on your denim jacket if you want.
And then we had a addition at the $1 level from Matt Gore. Huh? So thanks guys for supporting the show. Everything that goes into the patreon.com/60cycle humcast. Goes back into the show in one way or the other. So it's pretty great. So yeah, let's hit this last ad. This was sent in by Daniel Police. This is a custom guitar, $400, custom-made guitar.
It's 2 custom guitars.
Blue/purple glitter top. Is it 2?
Yeah, because there's a gold one.
Oh, and there's another one. Yeah, custom 12-string glitter top. They're $400 for either of them.
So these are roughly in a shape hinting at a Vox Phantom sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also completely wonky and wrong and weird. And the construction is so bizarre. I wish they showed pictures of the side of the guitar so we could see how thick they are. Because in these pictures, they look like they're maybe half an inch thick.
Yeah.
They look like they're constructed out of either like a poured resin or 2 pieces of like plexiglass that are like glued together and polished on the edges. So bizarre. If it's poured resin, then the resin is filled with glitter of various colors.
The thing
If it's 2 pieces of plexi, like I was saying, then the glitter is sandwiched between them. It's really hard to tell what's going on.
There's definitely something it's definitely at least 2 different parts, because otherwise there's no way that they would have been able to mount the electronics. You can actually see in one of the pictures all of the screws
on the back
that you would use to separate the top from the bottom.
I really wish I could see how thick these are.
So yeah, I have no idea. This is super wacky. At what price point is this interesting to you?
I would have to play them first. I mean,
at what price point do you want to play this guitar? Do you say
I want to play them now? I mean, they're both listed at $400, right?
Yes.
I want to try them now as they are. I wish that they were much closer to an actual Phantom shape, because that gold one is speaking to me. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of like sloppy construction here catching my eye. I would not pay $400 for these, even if they played really decent, which they're not going to.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to suss out of you. I'm thinking $125, $150 is the point where I go out of my way to be like, hey man, I'd like to check this out.
I mean, these are very simple as far as electronics go too. They have surface mount pickups on them.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 pickup on each one, and on one has a very cheap Harmony style bridge with no adjustments and a stop tail sort of thing.
Yeah, the other one's got like a Tune-o-matic on it.
Yeah. And then there's just a single volume and tone control, obviously, for 1 pickup. Mm-hmm. These things must be thick enough for an input jack.
The Rainbow one doesn't even have have any knobs on it.
Yeah, it's missing the knob. It's got the pots, but it's missing the knobs. They have to be thicker than I imagine, because they have pots and they have an input jack in them. So they have to be at least like an inch or so thick.
Yeah. The neck on the 12-string looks like it could be at least of interesting heritage, I would say.
It looks like a vintage style neck on there, like it's like from a Tasco or something like that.
The neck on the Rainbow one just looks like it was pulled off of some kind of bolt-on Les Paul.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of Epiphone or something like that. It doesn't look high quality, but you don't actually see the full headstock,
which is a disappointment.
Yeah, and look at the weird edges along the neck joint there. Like, I don't know what material it's made out of, but it's super wonky.
Yeah,
it's super wonky.
It looks like somebody poured like this.
That's what I was saying. It looks like a resin pour, right?
Thing, and then they cut it out afterwards, and in the process of cutting it, it maybe melted a little.
Or it looks like they poured it into like a mold that was lined with like a garbage bag or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not pleasant.
I don't hate the concept, and I don't hate the look, but the execution is just not there.
And the thing is I feel,
and if the execution was there, this could be really cool.
And the thing that I would say is I feel like the line between the execution being really cool and the execution being too clean to be cool is very thin. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess.
Because you could do like an acrylic type pour and have a similar result, but then all of a sudden now the lines are so clean
that it's not cool anymore. It looks cheap. Well, it looks like some sort of weird eBay find.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So, yeah, I would say I think this would have to be down around $150
totally
before I'm like shooting an email saying, yeah, I'd like to try this out. And even with that, I'd have to have like some kind of specific project in mind that I would want to use this for.
Yeah. I want to know more about it, and then I want to make the decision to make my own. And do it the way that I would want to see it. Because the shapes are bad, in my opinion.
Yep.
But the core concept is fun. All right, you want to tell us about the song so we can get out of here?
We're wrapping this up. This song was sent in by Pat. He says he releases music by himself under the moniker Kipsy, which is a name taken from a Loch Ness type monster out of New York.
They're all over the world.
He started this project while on paternity leave.
These lake monsters.
So rundown of the gear used was a Reverend Double Agent W, a Chase Bliss Brothers, a Fairfield circuitry accountant, death by audio reverberation machine, and a copper sound pedal Polaris through an orange dual tear and a Mesa 1x12 clone cab. He says, love the show. This song is called There Was Probably Good As Well, which is a little wordy, but I like the message of that title.
What is the message of the title?
That like maybe it wasn't just, it's like Darth Vader. Like,
okay.
Like you seem evil to everybody else, but there might still be good in him.
Oh, okay. I got you. Cool.
That's what I get out of it.
Looking forward to listening to it when I edit this episode.
Yep.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Us anyway. Come back and out again. Surrendering him. I know you're just still walking next to kin. You read your by the look that's in your eyes. Surprise. It's not the one who talks, but the one who walks that dice. And if I wake up tomorrow, trade